The rain tapped an uneven rhythm against the attic window, a restless Morse code that seemed to whisper secrets I wasn't yet ready to hear. I was Amanda, 35, a pediatric nurse with a heart stitched together by stubborn hope and the laughter of my 10-year-old twins, Jack and Emma. 2 years ago, the world I'd built with my ex-husband David shattered like glass underfoot, leaving me to gather the pieces alone. The divorce wasn't just a legal untangling, it was a theft of stability, of dreams, of the life I'd imagined for my children. So, when my parents, Martha and Richard, opened their creaking Victorian home to us, it felt like a lifeline, a chance to rebuild. But beneath their offer lay shadows I couldn't yet see, secrets that would unravel everything I thought I knew about family. The house itself was a relic, perched on the edge of our small coastal town, its gables looming like sentinels against the stormy sky. Its walls were thick with history, old portraits with eyes that seemed to follow you, locked doors leading to rooms no one spoke of, and a faint hum in the air, like the house was breathing. My parents had lived here since I was a child, and though I'd grown up within its maze of corridors, it always felt like a place that held more than it revealed. As a girl, I'd sensed it, a pull, a whisper, something ancient and watchful in the bones of the house. I'd buried that feeling long ago, chalking it up to childish imagination. But moving back in with Jack and Emma stirred it awake, a dormant instinct that prickled my skin. I was no stranger to hard work. 12-hour shifts at the children's hospital left me bone-tired, but fulfilled, tending to tiny patients with wide eyes and fragile courage. My hands, steady as they checked IV lines or soothed fevered brows, were my strength, my proof that I could mend what was broken. Jack and Emma were my anchors, my son with his quiet, creative soul, sketching worlds in his notebook that no one else could see, and my daughter, fierce and bright, her voice a clarion call against injustice. They were my reason to keep going, to claw my way out of the financial ruin David left behind. His software engineer salary had once been our foundation. Now it was my part-time nursing income, stretched thin by shared custody and meager alimony, that kept us afloat. When my parents offered their home, it seemed like salvation. "Just until you're steady again," my father had said, his hand heavy on my shoulder, his eyes kind but distant. I believed him, or wanted to, despite the ghosts of our past. Growing up, I'd been the dutiful daughter, the one who followed rules, who earned her place through effort. My younger brother, Stephen, was different, golden, untouchable, the child who could do no wrong. He'd stumble, and my parents would catch him. He'd dream, and they'd fund it. I'd spent 8 years grinding through nursing school, specializing in pediatrics because I wanted to make a difference. Stephen? He dropped out of college, started a tech business with my parents' money, and now, at 32, he was swimming in 6 figures. The favoritism was a quiet poison, seeping into my childhood, my adolescence, my very sense of self. I'd learned to live with it, to swallow the bitterness, but I never imagined it would touch my children. Jack and Emma were my light in the dark. Jack, with his delicate sensitivity, saw the world through colors and shapes, his sketches filled with fantastical creatures that seemed to pulse with life. Emma, my warrior, ran track and spoke her mind, her confidence a shield against the world's unfairness. They'd weathered the divorce with resilience, adapting to our new life in my parents' house with a grace that humbled me. We settled into a rhythm. I took the guest room, a small space with peeling wallpaper and a single window overlooking the fog-shrouded cliffs. The twins shared the converted home office, its walls papered with Jack's drawings and Emma's soccer ribbons. I contributed to groceries, cooked dinners after long shifts, and ensured the kids respected my parents' rules. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. The plan was simple: save enough for a deposit on our own place within a year. The housing market in our town was brutal, prices inflated by wealthy newcomers snapping up coastal properties. But I was determined. I took extra shifts when I could, squirreling away every dollar, my dreams pinned to a savings chart taped to my bathroom mirror. Each checkmark was a step toward freedom, a promise to Jack and Emma that we'd have a home of our own by Christmas. I thought I had time. I thought I could outrun the shadows creeping closer. There was something else, though, something I couldn't name. At night, when the house was silent except for the groan of old pipes, I'd hear it. A faint hum, like a heartbeat in the walls. Sometimes I'd wake with a start, certain I'd heard footsteps in the hall, only to find nothing but darkness. Jack mentioned it once, his voice small. "Mom, does the house ever talk to you?" I laughed it off, ruffling his hair, but his question lingered. Emma, too, seemed to sense it. She'd pause in the middle of her stretches, staring at the locked door at the end of the upstairs hall, her brow furrowed. I told myself it was just the stress of our situation, the weight of living in a place where I'd never truly belonged. But deep down, I wondered if the house was trying to tell me something, warning me of what was to come. My parents were kind at first, or at least they played the part. My mother would make breakfast for the twins, her smile tight but warm. My father would drive them to school when my shifts ran late. His gruff voice softened by their chatter. But there was an undercurrent, a tension I couldn't ignore. The way my mother's eyes lingered on Stephen's old room, untouched since he'd moved out, as if it were a shrine. The way my father's praise for my nursing career always came with a comparison to Stephen's brilliance. I pushed it aside, focusing on my kids, my work, my plan. I didn't see the storm gathering, didn't realize that the house and the family within it held secrets that would test my strength in ways I'd never imagined. Then came the letter. It arrived on a Tuesday, slipped under my bedroom door while I was at work. No envelope, no address, just a single sheet of paper, folded once. Its edges yellowed as if it had been waiting years to be found. The handwriting was unfamiliar, looping and precise, like something from another era. "They will choose him," it read. "Trust only yourself." I stared at it, my pulse quickening, the words searing into my mind. Who had written it? Why now? I searched the house, checking under furniture, behind curtains, but found nothing. My parents denied any knowledge, their expressions unreadable. I tucked the letter into my journal, telling myself it was a prank, a relic of the house's eccentric history. But it planted a seed of doubt, a whisper that the betrayal I feared was already in motion. That night, as I tucked Jack and Emma into bed, I noticed something new in their eyes, a flicker of unease, as if they, too, felt the house shifting around us. "Mom," Emma whispered, clutching her stuffed bear, "do you think Grandma and Grandpa love us as much as they love Uncle Stephen?" I froze, the question cutting deeper than I expected. "Of course they do," I said, forcing a smile. But as I turned out the light, the letter's words echoed in my mind. "Trust only yourself." I didn't know it then, but the arrival of my brother's son, Ethan, would ignite a chain of events that would force me to confront the truth, not just about my family, but about the power I carried within me, a strength I'd buried long ago, waiting to be unleashed. The house grew restless after the letter appeared, its whispers louder, its shadows sharper. I tried to dismiss it as exhaustion, the toll of 12-hour shifts stitching together broken children at the hospital, but the words, "They will choose him. Trust only yourself," clung to me like damp sea fog. I hid the letter in my journal, its yellowed edges burning in my memory, and focused on Jack and Emma. They were my compass, my reason to keep moving forward. But the arrival of my brother Stephen's son, Ethan, cracked open the fault lines in our family, revealing a darkness I hadn't dared to name. It began with a phone call, sharp and sudden, slicing through the quiet of a foggy morning. My mother's voice was bright, almost feverish, as she announced that Stephen and his wife, Melissa, had welcomed their baby boy. "Ethan," she said, the name dripping with reverence, as if it carried some ancient weight. "He's perfect, Amanda. You'll see." I congratulated her, my smile tight and hung up, unaware that this child would shift the gravity of our household, pulling everything toward him like a tide drawn to the moon. The change was subtle at first, like the slow creep of frost across a window pane. My parents transformed their formal dining room, a space rarely used except for stiff holiday gatherings, into a nursery for Ethan. I came home from a night shift to find my father hauling in a crib, its polished wood gleaming under the chandelier, while my mother arranged a cascade of toys, plush animals, musical mobiles, things that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. "For when they visit," she explained, her eyes alight with a joy I hadn't seen since Stephen's childhood triumphs. The room felt like a shrine, a sacred space for a child who didn't even live here, while Jack and Emma's shared bedroom remained cramped, their drawings pinned to peeling walls. Stephen and Melissa lived across town in a sprawling four-bedroom house, a monument to his tech success, funded by my parents' unwavering belief in his brilliance. Yet my mother began canceling plans to help with Jack and Emma, school pickups, homework sessions, if Stephen so much as hinted at needing her. "Your brother's new to parenting," she'd say, her tone sharp with dismissal when I pointed out I'd been a single mother for 2 years. The irony was a blade, but I swallowed it, telling myself it was temporary. New babies were exciting, after all. My parents had doted on Jack and Emma when they were born, hadn't they? Or had their love always been tempered by comparisons to Stephen, the golden son who could do no wrong? The favoritism seeped into everything, small cuts that bled slowly. Christmas arrived, and while Jack and Emma unwrapped modest gifts, a sketchpad for Jack, a soccer ball for Emma, Ethan, barely 3 months old, received a gleaming rocking horse and a stack of designer clothes he'd outgrow in weeks. My mother cooed over him, saying, "He looks just like Stephen did as a baby," her voice thick with nostalgia. Jack and Emma, she'd always said, took after their father David, as if my features, my essence, were invisible in them. I watched my twins exchange glances, their smiles faltering, and something inside me stirred. A spark of defiance, a whisper of the strength I'd buried long ago. I tried to shield them, carving out moments of joy to counter the growing chill in the house. On my days off, we'd escape to the cliffs, where the sea roared below and the wind carried away the weight of unspoken slights. We'd picnic on the bluffs, Jack sketching the gnarled trees that clung to the rocks, Emma racing through the grass, her laughter a defiance of the house's oppressive air. At night, we'd huddle in my room for movie marathons, the glow of the screen pushing back the darkness. I taped a new savings chart to my bathroom wall. Each dollar saved a promise. We'll have our own home by Christmas. The twins added stickers to it, their eyes bright with hope, unaware of the storm gathering just beyond our fragile sanctuary. But the house wouldn't let me forget. One night, as I checked the chart before bed, I found another note slipped under my door. Like the first, it was written in that strange, looping script, the paper brittle as if plucked from a forgotten archive. "The golden child blinds them," it read. "Guard your own." My breath caught, my fingers trembling as I traced the words. I searched the house again, my flashlight cutting through the shadows, but found no trace of the writer. The locked door at the end of the upstairs hall seemed to pulse, its brass knob cold under my touch. I didn't dare try to open it, not yet, but I felt its presence, a silent witness to the unraveling of my family. I began to notice other things, too. Objects moved when no one was looking. A photo of Jack and Emma pushed to the back of a shelf, replaced by a framed picture of Ethan. My mother's heirloom locket, which she'd promised to Emma, now hung around Melissa's neck during a family dinner, her smile smug as she cradled Ethan. Jack's drawings, once proudly displayed on the refrigerator, vanished one by one, replaced by printouts of Ethan's feeding schedule. When I asked my mother about it, she waved me off. "We need the space, Amanda. You know how busy Stephen and Melissa are." Her words were casual, but they landed like a blow, each one a reminder that my children were becoming ghosts in their own home. The twins felt it too. Emma, usually so bold, grew quieter, her questions sharper. "Why does Grandma always talk about Ethan like he's special?" she asked one evening, her clarinet abandoned on her bed. Jack, sketching in the corner, looked up, his eyes shadowed. "I heard Grandpa say Uncle Stephen's the only one who ever made them proud," he whispered. I knelt beside them, my heart aching, and pulled them close. "You are extraordinary," I told them, my voice fierce. "No one gets to decide your worth but you." But as I spoke, the house seemed to hum, a low vibration that made the air feel heavy, as if it were listening, waiting. I started to suspect the house itself was part of the mystery. Its walls held memories, secrets etched into the woodwork. Late at night, when the twins slept, I'd wander the halls, my fingers brushing the faded wallpaper, searching for answers. One evening, I found a hidden panel in the guest room, barely noticeable behind the dresser. It opened to reveal a small compartment, empty except for a single object, a tarnished silver key, its surface etched with a symbol that looked like a crescent moon entwined with vines. It felt warm in my hand, alive, and when I held it, the humming in the house grew louder, almost a song. I hid it in my journal with the letters, my mind racing. Was this key connected to the locked door, to the notes, to the power I felt stirring within me, a strength I'd ignored for too long? The favoritism grew bolder, more blatant. My parents began to criticize my parenting, their voices sharp with judgment. "Jack's too sensitive," my father said over dinner, his eyes on Ethan's crib. "You should toughen him up, Amanda." My mother chimed in, "And Emma's so loud. She needs to learn to be more delicate." Meanwhile, Stephen and Melissa could do no wrong. They'd arrive late for family dinners, Ethan's toys scattered across the living room, and my parents would laugh it off. "He's just a baby," they'd say, as if Jack and Emma's needs were less valid, less real. I clung to my plan, working extra shifts, the hospital's sterile halls, a refuge from the house's suffocating air. Each paycheck brought us closer to escape, but the letters kept coming, each one a warning, a nudge towards something I didn't yet understand. The third arrived tucked into Jack's sketchbook, its message chilling. The house sees what they do not. Claim your strength. I showed it to no one, but it fueled my resolve. I wasn't just saving for a new home. I was fighting for my children's right to be seen, to be valued. And deep down, I knew the house was on my side, its secrets a map to the power I'd need to break free. As spring bled into summer, the tension thickened. The house's hum, a constant reminder that time was running out. I caught Emma staring at the locked door one morning, her expression fierce. "There's something in there, Mom," she said, her voice low. "I can feel it." Jack nodded, clutching his latest drawing. A shadowy figure holding a key, standing before a door that looked eerily like the one upstairs. I didn't dismiss them this time. Instead, I squeezed their hands, my own resolve hardening. Whatever lay behind that door, whatever truth the house was guarding, I'd find it. And when I did, I'd use it to protect my children, to carve out a future where no one could make them feel small. The house was no longer a refuge. It was a battleground, its walls humming with secrets that seemed to pulse in time with my growing unease. Each night, as I lay in my narrow guest room, the silver key hidden in my journal felt heavier, its crescent moon etching burning against my thoughts. The cryptic notes, "They will choose him." The golden child blinds them. The house sees what they do not, had become my silent allies, urging me to trust the strength I felt stirring within me. But as summer crept closer, the arrival of Stephen, Melissa, and their infant son Ethan turned the house into a prison, stripping away the fragile peace I'd built for Jack and Emma. The favoritism that had simmered for months now boiled over, and the house itself seemed to watch, waiting for me to act. It began with a knock at the door, sharp and insistent. On a humid June evening, Stephen stood on the porch, his polished smile as bright as ever, Melissa beside him cradling Ethan, whose tiny face was already a mirror of his father's charm. "The renovation's finally happening," Stephen announced, his voice brimming with the confidence of someone who'd never known failure. "We need a place to crash for 6 to 8 weeks. Mom and Dad insisted we stay here." My stomach twisted, the air in the house thickening as if it, too, braced for what was coming. I glanced at my parents, expecting a discussion, a question, something. But my father was already nodding, his eyes alight with pride. "Of course you'll stay here," he said, clapping Stephen on the shoulder. "Plenty of room." "Plenty of room?" The words stung. The house was already cramped, with Jack and Emma sharing a converted office, and me squeezed into the guest room, my belongings still half packed in suitcases. I cleared my throat, forcing calm. "We're already tight on space with 5 of us," I said, gesturing to myself and the twins. My mother's eyes narrowed, a flicker of irritation crossing her face. "Family helps family, Amanda. It's temporary." The word temporary echoed hollowly, a promise I'd heard when we moved in nearly 2 years ago, now stretched thin by their unwavering devotion to Stephen. They moved in the following weekend, their arrival a whirlwind that reshaped the house. My father hauled in a portable crib for Ethan, setting it up in Stephen and Melissa's room, with a reverence he'd never shown when assembling the twins' beds. My mother cleared an entire closet for Melissa's designer wardrobe, while my own clothes had languished in boxes for months before I bought a cheap dresser. The nursery they'd built for Ethan's visits became his permanent domain, its shelves overflowing with toys that glittered like offerings to a young prince. Jack and Emma, meanwhile, were told to keep their voices down, their toys confined to their tiny room or a shrinking corner of the living room. Ethan's napping, Melissa would say, her tone sharp, even when the baby was wide awake, cooing in her arms. The house seemed to shift with their presence, its hum growing sharper, more insistent. Doors creaked open at odd hours, and once I found Jack's sketchbook open on the kitchen table, a new drawing scrawled in that same looping script, a figure holding a key, standing before a door wreathed in shadows. "I didn't draw this, Mom," Jack whispered when I showed him, his eyes wide with fear. I tucked the sketch into my journal with the letters, my heart pounding. The house was speaking again, but to what end? Was it warning me, guiding me, or both? I began to dream of the locked door upstairs, its brass knob glowing faintly, the key in my hand warm and pulsing. Each dream ended the same way. A voice, soft but commanding, whispering, "Claim it." The twins felt the shift too. Emma, my fierce girl, grew quieter, her clarinet practice cut short by Melissa's complaints about noise. One afternoon, I found her on the back porch, her jump rope limp in her hands, tears streaking her face. "Grandma said I was too loud," she said, her voice small. But Ethan wasn't even sleeping. Aunt Melissa just didn't want to hear me. I sat beside her, my anger simmering, and pulled her close. "You're never too loud, Emma. Your voice matters." But as I spoke, I caught a flicker of movement in the window above. A shadow, fleeting but human-shaped, watching us. My mother, Melissa, or something else entirely. Jack's light was dimming too. He came home one day, bursting with pride over an art project chosen for a district exhibition, only to be waved off by my mother. "Not now, Jack," she said, her attention fixed on Melissa's chatter about curtains for their renovated house. I watched my son's face crumple, his shoulders hunching as he retreated to his room. That night, I found another note tucked into my pillowcase. "Their eyes are blind, but yours are open." The words sent a chill through me, but they also sparked something fierce, a resolve to protect my children, no matter the cost. I tried to talk to my parents, choosing my words carefully as we sat at the kitchen table, the hum of the house a low undertone. "I'm worried about Jack and Emma," I said. My voice is steady despite the knot in my chest. "They feel like they're not important anymore." My father frowned, his fingers drumming the table. "They're being oversensitive. Babies need more attention. Ethan's here all day, unlike your kids." I bit back a retort, pointing out that Ethan went to daycare while Jack and Emma were at school. My mother sighed, her eyes cold. "You've always been jealous of Stephen, Amanda. I thought you'd outgrown that." The accusation hit like a slap, leaving me speechless. Was that how they saw me, a petty sibling, not a mother fighting for her children? The house seemed to agree with me. That night, as I checked on the twins, I found the locked door upstairs ajar, just a crack, revealing a sliver of darkness within. My breath caught, the key in my pocket suddenly heavy. I didn't open it, not yet, but I felt its pull, a promise of answers. The next morning, I found a small, intricately carved wooden box on my dresser, its surface etched with the same crescent moon symbol as the key. Inside was a single object, a tiny crystal-clear stone that glowed faintly when I held it. It was warm, like the key, and when I closed my hand around it, the house's hum softened, as if calmed by my touch. I hid the box with my journal, my mind racing. Was this a gift? A test? And who, or what, was leaving these signs? The favoritism grew more brazen. Melissa rearranged the kitchen without asking. tossing out the healthy snacks I bought for the twins and leaving her laundry in the machine. For days, Stephen acted as if he owned the house, inviting friends over for loud watch parties that drowned out Jack and Emma's quiet evenings. One night, I overheard him talking to my father in the study, their voices low but clear. "The renovation might take longer," Stephen said, his tone casual. "Contractor found some issues with the foundation." My father's response was immediate, warm. "Stay as long as you need. This is your home. Too." The words cut deep, a stark contrast to the temporary labels slapped on my stay, despite my contributions to the household. Groceries, cooking, cleaning, all while saving every penny for our escape. I began to notice patterns in the house's behavior. When Melissa snapped at Emma for practicing her clarinet, a glass on the counter cracked. Unprompted, its sound sharp in the silence. When my father dismissed Jack's asthma concerns, the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the room. The house was reacting, or so it seemed, its hum growing louder when my children were slighted. I started keeping a log in my journal, noting each incident, each note, each strange occurrence. The stone glowed brighter each time I wrote, as if feeding on my resolve. I wasn't sure what it meant, but I felt it. A power within me, growing stronger with every injustice, every moment I chose to fight for my children. One evening, as I tucked the twins into bed, Emma clutched my hand, her eyes searching mine. "Mom, do you think the house is angry?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack nodded, his sketchbook open to a new drawing. The locked door, now surrounded by vines that seemed to writhe on the page. I hesitated, then spoke the truth. "I think the house sees you, both of you, in a way Grandma and Grandpa don't, and I think it's on our side." Their eyes widened, a mix of fear and wonder, and I realized they felt it too, the house's pulse, its silent allegiance. I kissed their foreheads, my resolve hardening. Whatever power lay within these walls, whatever truth hid behind that locked door, I'd find it. And when I did, I'd use it to carve a path to freedom for my children, a place where they'd never feel invisible again. The house was no longer just watching, it was screaming. Its hum had become a roar, vibrating through the floorboards, rattling the windows as if it shared my fury. For months, I'd clung to patience, swallowing the poison of my family's favoritism, trusting that my savings, my plan, would carry Jack, Emma, and me to freedom. But on a rain-soaked Tuesday in September, the truth crashed down like a wave against the cliffs outside our coastal town. My parents and Stephen had crossed a line, one that cut deeper than any betrayal I'd faced before, and the house, its secrets pulsing in my veins, urged me to fight back. I was at the hospital, elbow deep in a chaotic shift on the pediatric ward. 3 new admissions, a staff shortage, and a toddler with a fever that wouldn't break had me running on adrenaline and coffee. My phone, buried in my scrub pocket, buzzed relentlessly. But I couldn't check it until a fleeting lunch break in the break room's sterile quiet. When I did, my heart stopped. Missed texts from Jack and Emma flooded the screen, each one a dagger. From Jack: "Mom, something weird is happening. Grandpa and Uncle Stephen are moving our stuff." From Emma: "Grandma says we have to move to the basement. This isn't fair." From Jack: "Mom, please come home. They took all our things downstairs." From Emma: "I hate it here. The basement is cold and gross, and there are spiders." My hands trembled as I dialed home, then the twins' phones. No answer. The air in the break room felt thin, the hospital's hum drowned out by the roar in my ears. A sound I recognized, the house's voice, urging me to move. I texted Emma. I'll be home as soon as I can. Stay calm. I love you both. My supervisor, sensing my panic, arranged coverage for my remaining hours, but it took an agonizing hour to hand off patients and finish charting. The drive home was a blur. The coastal road slick with rain, my mind spinning with dread. The basement, unfinished, damp, mold creeping up its walls, was no place for my children, especially Jack with his asthma. Had they really done this? Without asking me? I pulled into the driveway, the house looming like a storm cloud, its windows dark except for a faint glow from the kitchen. The hum was louder now, a pulse that seemed to sync with my heartbeat. I clutched the silver key in my pocket, its warmth grounding me, and the glowing stone, now tucked in a chain around my neck, pulsed faintly. The cryptic notes, "Trust only yourself. The house sees what they do not," flashed in my mind, their warnings now a reality. I took a deep breath as steeling myself and stepped inside. The scene was worse than I'd feared. Jack and Emma sat huddled on the living room couch, their faces pale, eyes red from crying. Their backpacks, usually neatly hung by the door, were slumped beside them, stuffed with their belongings. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth, a smell that didn't belong upstairs. My mother and Melissa sat in the kitchen, sipping tea as if the world hadn't just tilted. Stephen and my father were absent, their absence a coward's retreat. "What's going on?" I asked, kneeling before my children, my voice steady despite the rage clawing at my chest. Emma threw her arms around me, her voice breaking. "They moved all our stuff to the basement, Mom, without asking. Grandma said we don't deserve the good rooms upstairs." Jack nodded, his voice barely a whisper. "Grandpa said Uncle Stephen's family needs more space because they're more important right now." The words hit like a physical blow, each syllable a betrayal. I hugged them tightly, my anger a wildfire, but I kept my tone calm for their sake. "Let me talk to Grandma. Stay here." In the kitchen, my mother barely glanced up, her teacup clinking against its saucer. "You're home early," she said, her voice cool. Melissa sipped her tea, her eyes flicking to me with a smugness that made my skin crawl. "Why are my children's belongings in the basement?" I asked, my voice low, dangerous. Melissa answered first, her tone dismissive. "We needed to adjust the living arrangements. Stephen and I need a nursery for Ethan, plus space for my home office now that I'm working remotely." "So you moved Jack and Emma to the basement without discussing it with me?" I pressed, my hands clenched at my sides. My mother finally met my gaze, her expression unyielding. "It was the logical solution. The children are older, they can adapt. Ethan deserves the best rooms. He's here all day while your kids are at school." The casual cruelty of her words stole my breath, the house's hum spiking, a low growl that vibrated through the floor. "My children deserve a safe, comfortable space just as much as Ethan does," I said, my voice trembling with barely contained fury. "The basement has mold, it's freezing, and there's only one tiny window that doesn't open properly." "Don't be dramatic, Amanda," my mother snapped. "The basement's perfectly fine. We put their beds down there and everything. Family means making sacrifices." Sacrifices. Always mine. Always my children's. The stone around my neck burned, its glow faint but undeniable, as if feeding on my resolve. The house groaned, A sound only I seemed to hear, and a shadow flickered in the corner of my vision, fleeting but unmistakable. My father and Stephen entered through the back door, their voices trailing off as they saw me. "Oh, good, you're home," my father said, his tone clipped. "We need to discuss some changes." "Yes, I can see that," I replied, fighting to keep my voice level. "You moved my children's belongings to an unsafe space without my permission." Stephen shrugged, his smirk infuriating. "We need the space upstairs. Ethan's getting mobile. He needs room to develop. Plus, Melissa needs a quiet office. And my children need a safe bedroom," I countered, my voice rising. "The basement has mold, Dad. Jack has asthma. It could trigger an attack." "You're overreacting, as usual," Stephen said, rolling his eyes. "Kids are resilient. Melissa and I grew up in worse conditions, didn't we, honey?" Melissa nodded, her smile tight, though I knew she'd grown up in a mansion, not a damp cellar. My father waved a hand. "The basement's fine. I added some lights and carpet scraps. They should be grateful to have a place at all." Grateful. The word was a slap, revealing how little they valued us. I stared at them, my parents, my brother, Melissa, all so certain of their rightness, blind to the pain they'd inflicted. The house reacted. A glass on the counter shattered, shards scattering across the floor, though no one had touched it. My mother gasped. Melissa flinched. But Stephen and my father didn't seem to notice. The hum surged, a wave of energy that seemed to flow into me, strengthening my resolve. I walked back to the living room, where Jack and Emma waited, their eyes wide with trust. In that moment, I felt it. A power, ancient and fierce, rising within me, fueled by the house, the key, the stone. It was as if the walls themselves were lending me their strength, urging me to act. I knelt before my children, a calm certainty settling over me. "Pack your bags," I said, my voice steady, a smile breaking through despite the chaos. They blinked, confused, but I nodded encouragingly. "Trust me. Pack what's important. We'll get the rest later." My father, who'd followed me, scoffed. "Oh, for heaven's sake, Amanda, stop being so dramatic. No one's asking you to leave." I turned to him, the stone glowing brighter against my chest. "No, Dad. You've made it clear where we stand. And we deserve better." My mother stormed in, her face flushed. "What nonsense is this? You can't just leave because things didn't go your way." Stephen and Melissa joined her, Ethan on Stephen's hip, the family aligned against me. The house's hum grew deafening, a chorus of defiance. "This isn't about things not going my way," I said, my voice ringing with a strength I hadn't known I possessed. "This is about respect, which you've denied my children. You told them they don't deserve the same comfort as Ethan. That ends now. We've given you a roof over your head for 2 years," my father bellowed. "How dare you talk about respect?" I met his gaze, unflinching. "I've been grateful. I've paid for groceries, cooked, cleaned, respected your rules. But today, you crossed a line." Melissa scoffed. "It's just a bedroom rearrangement. You're being oversensitive." I turned to her, the stone's warmth pulsing. "Would you call it that if someone moved Ethan to a moldy basement without asking you?" She had no answer, her smugness faltering. The house shook, a low tremor that rattled the chandelier above. My parents froze, but Stephen pressed on. "Where do you think you're going, Amanda? It's not like you've saved enough to leave." His smirk was a challenge, but the key in my pocket burned, the stone glowed. and I felt the house's power coursing through me. "That's where you're wrong," I said, my voice deadly quiet. "I've been saving since the day we moved in. I've worked extra shifts, built an emergency fund. 3 weeks ago, I signed a lease on a house. We're leaving." The silence was electric, their shock palpable. My mother recovered first, her voice trembling with false hurt. "You were planning this behind our backs?" "I was planning to give you notice next week," I said. "The house isn't ready until November the 1st, but today you've forced my hand." My father's face reddened. "After all we've done, you storm out over a minor disagreement." "Minor?" I repeated, incredulous. "You moved my children to an unsafe space and told them they're less important than their cousin. That's not minor. That's a betrayal." Jack and Emma returned, backpacks slung over their shoulders. Emma clutching her clarinet case, Jack holding his stuffed dragon and sketchbook. "We're ready, Mom," Emma said, her voice stronger, a spark of defiance in her eyes. The house's hum softened, as if approving. "This is ridiculous," my mother declared. "You can't leave now." "We are," I said, guiding the twins toward the door. "We'll come back tomorrow for the rest when everyone's calmer." My father's voice turned cold. "If you walk out, don't expect to be welcomed back." I looked at him, sadness mingling with resolve. I stopped expecting that a long time ago. As we stepped onto the porch, the rain had stopped, the air sharp with the scent of salt and freedom. The house groaned behind us, a final note of farewell, and the stone around my neck pulsed once, brightly, as if sealing my decision. In the car, Jack and Emma looked back, not with sorrow, but with relief. "Are we really moving to our own house?" Jack asked, hope flickering in his voice. "Almost," I said, smiling. "We have a house waiting, but tonight we'll stay with my friend Nancy." The stone glowed, the key warmed, and I felt it. The power within me, no longer dormant, ready to carve a new path. The house had seen us, had chosen us, and as we drove away, I knew its secrets would follow, guiding us toward a future where my children would never be invisible again. The rain had stopped, but the air outside my parents' house was electric, charged with the promise of a storm yet to break. As I guided Jack and Emma to the car, their backpacks slung over their shoulders, the house's hum followed us, a low, mournful note that seemed to mourn our departure, or perhaps celebrate it. The silver key in my pocket burned against my thigh, the glowing stone around my neck pulsed with warmth, and the cryptic notes tucked in my journal whispered their final warning. "Trust only yourself." I'd crossed a threshold, not just the porch, but something deeper, a line where patience gave way to power. My parents' betrayal, moving my children to a mold-ridden basement, had ignited a fire within me, and the house, with its secrets, was fanning the flames. Jack and Emma climbed into the back seat, their faces a mix of fear and hope. Emma clutched her clarinet case, its worn leather a talisman of her resilience, while Jack held his stuffed dragon and sketchbook, the pages filled with drawings that seemed to predict this moment. My parents stood on the porch, their expressions a kaleidoscope of anger, disbelief, and something like fear. They'd thought me dependent, tethered to their conditional generosity, but I'd been weaving my escape for months, my savings a silent rebellion against their dismissal. As I started the car, my mother rushed to my window, her voice trembling. "Amanda, please, you're overreacting. Come back inside and we'll figure this out." "We'll talk tomorrow," I said, my voice steady, the stone's glow a quiet reassurance against my chest. When I come for our things. Her eyes widened, genuine concern breaking through her indignation. But where will you go? I met her gaze, the house's hum softening as if in approval. Somewhere my children are valued, I said simply, and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw Jack and Emma glance back at the house, their faces not heavy with loss, but light with relief. The house's silhouette loomed against the darkening sky, its windows glinting like eyes, watching us go. Are we really moving to our own house? Jack asked, his voice cautious but threaded with hope. Almost, I replied, a smile breaking through the weight of the moment. We have a house waiting, but it's not ready until next week. Tonight, we're staying with my friend Nancy from work. Emma, ever perceptive, studied me. Is it because of what Grandma and Grandpa did? I chose my words carefully, the stone's warmth guiding me. It's because we deserve a home where everyone is treated with respect and kindness. I've been planning this for a while, but what happened today showed me we couldn't wait any longer. I didn't like how they talked about us, Jack said quietly, his fingers tracing the edge of his sketchbook, like we weren't important. My heart cracked, but I kept my voice firm. You are both incredibly important, and anyone who can't see that doesn't deserve you in their lives. The stone pulsed, a soft glow illuminating the car's dim interior, and I felt it, a power rising within me, ancient and unyielding, as if the house had passed its strength to me in this moment of defiance. The drive to Nancy's house was short, the coastal road winding through mist-shrouded cliffs. The house's hum faded with distance, but the key and stone remained warm, their energy a tether to the secrets we'd left behind. Nancy welcomed us with open arms, her small cottage a stark contrast to my parents' looming Victorian. She'd prepared her guest room with an air mattress for the twins and a queen bed for me, the space cozy with the scent of lavender and the glow of fairy lights. She'd even bought ice cream and rented a movie, a small act of kindness that felt like a balm after the day's wounds. As the twins settled in, picking at their ice cream with tentative smiles, Nancy pulled me aside. I'm proud of you, she said, her eyes warm. It takes courage to walk away from family. I wish I'd done it sooner, I admitted, my voice catching. Before they hurt Jack and Emma like this. Nancy squeezed my arm. You're doing it now. That's what matters. Her words echoed the stone's warmth, grounding me. That night, as I lay beside my sleeping children, the unfamiliar room felt like a sanctuary. The house's hum was gone, but the key and stone pulsed faintly, as if reminding me of the power I'd claimed. Sadness lingered. For the family I had wanted, for the love my parents withheld, but beneath it was peace, a certainty that I'd made the right choice. The next morning, I woke to find another note slipped under the guest room door, its yellowed paper and looping script unmistakable. You have chosen wisely, it read. The door awaits. My breath caught, my eyes darting to the window, but Nancy's cottage was quiet, its walls free of the eerie pulse I had grown used to. Who was leaving these notes? The house was miles away, yet its reach seemed to follow me. I tucked the note into my journal, the stone glowing brighter as I did, and checked the key in my pocket. It was warmer now, its crescent moon etching almost alive under my touch. The locked door upstairs. Had it been the source of these messages? And what lay beyond it, waiting for me to claim? I called in a personal day at the hospital, determined to retrieve our belongings and sever the ties that had bound us to my parents' house. Nancy offered to watch the twins, but I shook my head. They need to see this through, I said. It's important they know we're doing this together. We arrived at my parents' house at 10, the morning fog thick around its gabled roof. My father answered the door, his scowl softening when he saw Jack and Emma. "Come to apologize for your tantrum?" he asked, his voice gruff. "No," I said evenly, the stone's warmth bolstering me. "We're here to get our things." His face hardened, but he stepped aside. My mother sat in the living room, her eyes red from crying or sleeplessness, the air heavy with unspoken guilt. Stephen and Melissa were absent, a small mercy. "They took Ethan to the park," my mother said, her voice flat. "They thought it'd be less stressful if they weren't here." I nodded, grateful for one less confrontation. "Jack, Emma, go pack your room," I instructed. "Just take what you need and love. We can replace the rest." As the twins headed upstairs, my mother turned to me, her voice breaking. "I can't believe you're doing this to us." I met her gaze, unflinching. "I'm not doing anything to you. I'm doing this for my children and myself." She shook her head, tears welling. "We gave you everything. A place to stay, help with the kids, support after your divorce. And I've been grateful," I said, my voice steady. "But that doesn't mean my children should be treated as less valuable than Ethan." My father paced the room, his anger palpable. "This is about Stephen, isn't it? You've always been jealous of him." I shook my head, the stone's glow a quiet fire against my skin. "This is about Jack and Emma being moved to an unsafe basement without my consent. You said Ethan deserved the best rooms because he's Stephen's son. What does that say about my children?" My mother flinched, her eyes darting away. "We didn't mean it like that," she whispered, but her words lacked conviction. Upstairs, I helped the twins pack, their clothes fitting into 2 suitcases I'd brought. Jack carefully wrapped his favorite books and science kit. Emma packed her sports gear and the jewelry box her father had given her. Each item was a piece of their identity, a defiance of the house's attempt to erase them. As we carried the first load downstairs, my father blocked the door, his voice sharp. "Where are you going with this mysterious house you claim to have rented?" I set the bags down, facing him directly. "We're staying with a friend until our house is ready next week. And for the record, Dad, I make $65,000 a year as a nurse. I have excellent credit, minimal debt, and I've been saving for 2 years. I'm more than capable of providing for my family." His shock was almost comical, his assumptions about my dependence crumbling. My mother interjected, her voice skeptical. "The rental market's tight. How did you find a place?" "I've been looking for months," I said, the key's warmth fueling my confidence. "I have friends, connections. Just because I didn't tell you doesn't mean I wasn't prepared." The stone glowed brighter, as if affirming my words. We made several trips to the car, my parents watching in silence, the reality of our departure sinking in. As we prepared to leave, I did a final walkthrough, the house's hum softer now, almost mournful. In the kitchen, my mother stood by the counter, her movements mechanical as she made coffee. "We're heading out," I said. She turned, tears in her eyes. "I don't understand why you're doing this. We're family." "Yes," I agreed, my voice soft but firm. "And that's why this hurts so much. Family should make each other feel valued. Jack and Emma haven't felt that here for a long time." She looked away, her silence an admission. The stone pulsed, a reminder of the power I'd claimed. My father made one last attempt as we reached the door. "This is a mistake, Amanda. You're letting pride get in the way of what's best for your children." I turned to him, the key's warmth a steady anchor. "No, Dad. For the first time, I'm putting my children first, above your approval." Jack and Emma said quiet goodbyes, their conflicted emotions clear. They'd been taught to love these people who'd hurt them so carelessly. As we drove away, Emma asked, "Will we see Grandma and Grandpa again?" "Yes," I said, the stone glowing softly, "but on our terms, when they respect us." The house faded in the rearview mirror, its hum a distant echo. The key and stone remained warm, their energy a promise of secrets yet to be revealed. At Nancy's, the twins relaxed, their laughter returning as they played in her small backyard. That night, as I tucked them into bed, I found another note in my journal, slipped between the pages. "The door is yours to open." The words sent a shiver through me, but also a spark of certainty. The house had chosen me, had given me its strength, and I would use it to build a home where my children would always be seen, always be loved. The fog clung to the cliffs as we drove to our new home, a small 3-bedroom house just 10 minutes from the hospital, its windows glowing like beacons in the morning mist. The silver key in my pocket and the glowing stone around my neck pulsed softly, as if approving of our escape from my parents' oppressive Victorian manor. The cryptic notes, "Trust only yourself. The house sees what they do not. The door is yours to open," had followed me even to Nancy's cottage, their words a quiet fire in my heart. Leaving my parents' house had been a severance, a reclaiming of our worth. But as Jack and Emma sat in the back seat, their faces bright with cautious hope, I knew this was only the beginning. The house's secrets and the power stirring within me were far from done with us. The new house was modest, but perfect, a haven carved from my years of saving and sacrifice. Its white, clapboard exterior stood sturdy against the coastal winds, its tiny backyard a canvas for the twins' dreams. Inside, the rooms were small, but filled with light, the kitchen's wide windows catching the sun's reflection off the sea. It was in the same school district, ensuring Jack and Emma's routines stayed intact, and closer to the hospital than my parents' looming estate. As we stepped through the front door, keys jingling in my hand, the air felt clean, unburdened by the weight of favoritism. The stone around my neck glowed briefly, a warm pulse that seemed to say, "This is yours." We moved in on a crisp Friday, a whirlwind of boxes and laughter. Nancy and a handful of hospital colleagues arrived to help, their presence turning a daunting task into a celebration. They hauled furniture, unpacked dishes, and teased me about my meticulous labeling system, their warmth a stark contrast to the cold dismissal of my parents' house. Jack and Emma darted between rooms, claiming their spaces. Emma's filled with soccer gear and her clarinet, Jack's with sketchbooks and a science kit. By evening, the beds were set up, the kitchen functional, and the living room cozy with a mismatched couch and a rug Nancy insisted we borrow. We ordered pizza, the twins' laughter echoing as they debated toppings, and for the first time in months, I saw their true selves emerge, unshadow, unbound. That night, after the helpers left and the twins were tucked into their own rooms, I sat in the living room, the silence a gift. The stone glowed softly, its light casting faint shadows on the walls, and the key in my pocket felt lighter, as if relieved to be here. I opened my journal, tracing the notes looping script, their messages a thread connecting me to the old house's mysteries. What was the door they spoke of? The locked one upstairs, or something deeper, symbolic, a threshold to my own power? I'd left the Victorian manor behind, but its hum lingered in my dreams, a reminder that its secrets weren't finished with me. The twins blossomed in our new home. Emma's confidence returned, her clarinet notes filling the house with defiant melody, no longer silenced by Melissa's complaints. Jack's anxiety eased, his sketches growing bolder, filled with fantastical creatures that seemed to dance off the page. One evening, he showed me a drawing of a woman holding a glowing stone, standing before a door wreathed in vines. "It's you, Mom," he said, his voice soft but certain. I froze, the stone around my neck pulsing in response. "How did you know about this?" I asked, touching the chain. He shrugged, his eyes distant. "I just felt it." Emma nodded, her gaze sharp. "This house feels different, Mom, like it likes us." Their words sent a shiver through me, echoing the old house's hum. This new home didn't pulse or groan, but it had a warmth, a quiet strength that seemed to mirror my own. I began to notice small signs, a breeze that stirred the curtains when no windows were open, a soft glow in the backyard at dusk, like the stone's light reflected in the grass. One morning, I found a new note slipped under my bedroom door, its paper crisp despite its familiar script. "You are home, but the truth remains." My heart raced. The notes had followed us here, too, their source still a mystery. I checked the house, finding no signs of intrusion, but the stone glowed brighter, as if urging me to keep searching. I set boundaries with my parents, refusing contact until they could respect us. Their messages flooded my phone, angry accusations, tearful pleas. But I responded only once, confirming we were safe and would talk when I was ready. The stone's warmth guided my resolve, its glow a reminder of the power I'd claimed. At work, my colleagues became a surrogate family, their support a lifeline. Nancy, especially, checked in daily, her guest room still open if we needed it. "You're stronger than you know," she told me one day over coffee in the hospital cafeteria. "You walked away from a cage most people stay trapped in." Her words resonated, echoing the note's cryptic encouragement, and I felt the stone pulse as if agreeing. One night, as I unpacked the last of our boxes, I found the wooden box with the crescent moon etching hidden among my clothes. It hadn't been there when we packed, yet here it was, its lid slightly ajar. Inside, alongside the glowing stone's empty slot, was a new object, a tiny silver locket, its surface etched with the same vines as Jack's drawings. I opened it, expecting a photo, but found only a mirror reflecting my own face. Older, fiercer, a woman I barely recognized. The stone aglowed, the key warmed, and a memory surfaced, unbidden. My grandmother, long gone, telling me stories of our family's women, keepers of secrets, holders of keys. Had she known about the house, the notes, the power now coursing through me? I began to dream of the locked door again, but now it stood in this house, at the end of our short hallway. In the dreams, I turned the key and light poured out, warm and golden, wrapping me in strength. Each morning, I woke with a renewed sense of purpose, my savings chart replaced by a new goal: to uncover the truth behind the notes, the key, the stone. I didn't know what lay beyond the metaphorical door, but I felt it, a legacy, a power passed down through generations, waiting for me to claim it fully. The twins sensed it, too. Emma started leaving small offerings in the backyard, a pebble, a flower, as if thanking the house for its welcome. Jack's drawings grew more vivid, depicting the woman with the stone leading two children through a glowing door. "It's us," he said one evening, his voice steady. "We're going somewhere better." I hugged them, the stone's glow a quiet promise. "We already are," I said, but the note's words lingered. "The truth remains." What truth? And why did it follow us here? One afternoon, as we painted Emma's room a bright teal, a knock at the door startled us. It was Aunt Susan, my mother's sister. her kind eyes crinkling as she handed me a tin of homemade cookies. "I've been worried about you," she said, stepping inside. "The way your parents treated you and the kids. It's not right." I nodded, grateful for her support. "We're okay now," I said, gesturing to the house. "This is our home." She smiled, but her gaze lingered on the stone around my neck. "That's an old piece," she said softly. "Where did you get it?" I hesitated, then told her about the notes, the key, the box. Her eyes widened, a flicker of recognition crossing her face. "There are stories in our family," she said, her voice low, "about a house that chooses its keepers. Be careful, Amanda. What you're holding, it's more than it seems." Her words sent a chill through me, but also a spark of excitement. The stone glowed, the key warmed, and I felt the house, our new house, shift, as if acknowledging her words. That night, as I tucked the twins into bed, Emma whispered, "I like our house, Mom. It feels like it's ours." Jack nodded, his dragon tucked under his arm. "It doesn't make me feel small." Their words were a gift, a confirmation that we'd found our sanctuary. I kissed their foreheads, the stone's light casting a soft glow across their faces, and knew that whatever secrets followed us, whatever power I was meant to claim, we'd face it together. The new house was a sanctuary, its walls humming with a quiet warmth that felt like an embrace. Each morning, the sun spilled through the kitchen windows, painting Jack and Emma's faces with light as they ate breakfast. Their laughter, a melody that drowned out the echoes of my parents' betrayal. The silver key in my drawer and the glowing stone around my neck pulsed softly, their energy a constant reminder of the power I'd claimed. The cryptic notes, "Trust only yourself. The house sees what they do not. The door is yours to open. You have chosen wisely," had followed me here. Their latest message, "The truth remains," a puzzle I was still unraveling. But as weeks turned to months, the consequences of our departure rippled through my family, forcing them to confront their choices, while the house's secrets whispered of a deeper truth yet to be revealed. Life in our new home was a delicate dance of healing and discovery. Jack's sketches filled his room, vibrant with fantastical creatures that seemed to watch over him, while Emma's clarinet notes soared, her confidence blooming like the wildflowers in our backyard. I worked my shifts at the hospital, the rhythm of saving lives grounding me, my savings chart replaced by a vision board pinned with dreams for our future, a garden for Jack, a music stand for Emma, a trip to the mountains. The stone glowed brighter each day, its warmth a mirror to my growing strength, and the locket from the etched wooden box, now tucked in my jewelry case, reflected a face I was beginning to recognize, a woman unafraid, unbreakable. But the old house and the family within it wouldn't let us go so easily. My phone buzzed with messages from my parents, angry at first, then pleading, then silent. I'd set a clear boundary. Contact only when they could respect Jack, Emma, and me equally. Weeks passed without a word, and I thought that was the end. Then, one crisp October morning, a letter arrived, not in the cryptic script of the notes, but in my mother's careful handwriting. "We need to talk," it read. "Please, Amanda, we're struggling." The stone pulsed, a cautious warmth, as if urging me to listen but stay vigilant. I tucked the letter away, unsure if I was ready to face them, but curious about what struggling meant. The answer came from Aunt Susan, who visited one Sunday with a casserole and news. She sat at our kitchen table, her eyes kind but heavy with concern. "Your parents are in over their heads," she said, sipping tea. Stephen and Melissa leaned on you more than they realized. Your cooking, your cleaning, your stability. Without you, their house is chaos. I listened, the stone glowing faintly, as Susan described the fallout. Stephen's renovation had hit delays, costs ballooning beyond his budget. Melissa, overwhelmed by Ethan's demands and her remote work, snapped at my parents for help they couldn't give. My mother, once Ethan's devoted caretaker, was exhausted, her favoritism crumbling under the weight of reality. They're starting to see it, Susan said softly. How they pushed you away. I nodded, the locket's mirror flashing in my mind. My reflection, fierce and resolute. I'm sorry they're struggling, I said, but they made choices. They told my children they were less important than Ethan. Susan reached for my hand, her gaze lingering on the stone. They're learning, Amanda. Your mother, especially. She's been asking about you, about the kids. She found one of Jack's drawings in the basement, and it broke her. The stone pulsed, a spark of warmth, and I wondered if the house, our old house, had left that drawing as a message, a reminder of what they'd lost. That night, I found another note slipped into my journal, its yellowed paper and looping script unmistakable. Their eyes open slowly, yours see clearly. My breath caught, the stone glowing brighter, the key in my drawer warming as if stirred by the note's arrival. I checked the house, finding no signs of entry, but the backyard glowed faintly, a soft luminescence in the grass that vanished when I blinked. The notes were no longer tied to the old house. They were tied to me, to the power I was beginning to understand. I dreamed of the locked door again, its vines now blooming with flowers, the key turning smoothly in my hand. A voice whispered, "You are the keeper." And I woke with a certainty. The house's secrets were mine to uncover, a legacy of strength passed through generations. The next week, my mother called, her voice trembling with something new, humility. "Can we meet?" she asked. Just me at a cafe, no expectations. The stone warmed, urging caution but openness. I agreed, choosing a neutral spot near the hospital, leaving Jack and Emma with Nancy. At the cafe, my mother looked older, her eyes shadowed with regret. "I didn't realize how much we relied on you," she said, her hands twisting a napkin. "Or how we hurt Jack and Emma. I found Jack's drawing and I see it now, Amanda. We were wrong." Her words were a crack in the wall between us, but I held my ground, the stone's glow steadying me. "It wasn't just about reliance, Mom. You made my children feel invisible. You moved them to a moldy basement and said Ethan deserved better." She flinched, tears welling. "I was caught up in Stephen's world, in Ethan. I thought it was temporary, that you'd understand." I shook my head, my voice firm. "I might have. If you'd asked me, but you didn't. You chose Stephen, like always." She nodded, her voice breaking. "I'm sorry. I want to make this right, for you and the kids." The stone pulsed, a quiet affirmation, but I wasn't ready to forgive, not fully. "It'll take time," I said. "You can start by respecting us, by treating Jack and Emma as equals to Ethan." She agreed, her eyes earnest, and I felt a shift, a possibility of healing. As I left the cafe, the stone glowed brightly, the key in my pocket warming, as if the house or whatever force guided the notes approved. Back home, I told Jack and Emma about the meeting, keeping it simple. "Grandma's starting to understand," I said. "We'll see how it goes." Emma frowned, her clarinet in her lap. "Will we have to go back?" No, I said firmly, the stone's warmth reinforcing my words. This is our home. If we visit, it's on our terms. Jack smiled, his sketchbook open to a new drawing, a woman with a glowing stone leading two children through a blooming garden. I like it here, he said. It feels like we belong. The stone pulsed, and I knew he was right. Stephen and Melissa's struggles continued, Susan reported. Without my stabilizing presence, their reliance on my parents strained their relationship. Stephen's charm faltered under financial pressure, and Melissa's complaints grew sharper, their golden facade cracking. My father, always Stephen's champion, called me one evening, his voice gruff but softer. "Your mother told me about your talk," he said. "I didn't see it before, how we treated you. I'm sorry, Amanda." His apology was halting, imperfect, but it was a start. The stone aglowed, a quiet acknowledgement, and I felt the house's legacy, its strength, settling deeper within me. Another note appeared that night, tucked into Emma's clarinet case. The circle closes, but the door remains. The words sent a shiver through me, the stone glowing fiercely, the key almost too warm to touch. I stood in the backyard, the grass shimmering faintly, and felt it, a connection to something ancient, a power that had chosen me as its keeper. The old house had seen us, had pushed us toward this moment, and now, in our new home, I was ready to uncover its truth. Jack and Emma slept soundly, their rooms filled with light, and I knew that whatever lay beyond the door, literal or metaphorical, we'd face it together, armed with a strength that no betrayal could break. The new house had become our haven, its walls alive with the laughter of Jack and Emma, its air free of the shadows that once confined us. A year had passed since we left my parents' oppressive Victorian manor, and in that time, I'd built a life I never thought possible, a home where my children thrived, where I stood tall as their protector, their guide. The silver key, now resting in a velvet-lined box beside the etched locket, pulsed faintly, as if content. The glowing stone around my neck shone steadily, its warmth a constant companion. The cryptic notes, "Trust only yourself. The house sees what they do not. The door is yours to open. The truth remains," had stopped appearing, but their final message lingered, a promise fulfilled. I had opened the door, not to a physical room, but to my own power, a legacy that had chosen me as its keeper. The journey to this moment wasn't easy, but it was ours. 6 months after moving into our new home, I was promoted to head nurse at the hospital, a role that came with a raise and a more predictable schedule. The extra income allowed me to buy our house outright, a milestone we celebrated with a backyard barbecue, Jack and Emma stringing fairy lights across the fence, their faces glowing with pride. The mortgage papers, signed in my name alone, were a testament to my strength, a defiance of my parents' belief that I'd always need them. The stone pulsed as I signed, its light catching the ink as if sealing my triumph. Jack and Emma flourished in ways that filled my heart. Emma joined the school band, her clarinet solos earning applause at concerts, her confidence a beacon that drew friends to our doorstep. Jack's art was selected for a regional exhibition, his fantastical creatures now framed on our walls, their vibrant colors a mirror of his growing courage. One evening, as we hung his latest piece, a woman with a glowing stone leading two children through a blooming door, he hugged me, his voice soft. "You're the strongest person I know, Mom." Emma nodded, her eyes bright, You made us a real home. The stone glowed, and I felt it. The house's legacy, my legacy, woven into their words. The mystery of the notes and the house's secrets had begun to unravel, thanks to Aunt Susan. During a visit, she shared more about our family's history, her voice low as we sat in my living room, the stone glowing softly. Our women have always been keepers, she said, her eyes on the locket I now wore alongside the stone, keepers of strength, of secrets, of the house's truth. That key, that stone. They chose you, Amanda, because you were ready to fight for what matters. She told me of my grandmother, a woman who'd faced her own betrayals, who'd left cryptic notes for Susan in her youth, guiding her to independence. The house speaks to those who listen, Susan said. It saw your pain, your children's pain, and it gave you its power. Her words unlocked the final piece of the puzzle. The old house, with its humming walls and glowing signs, wasn't just a place. It was a guardian, a vessel for the strength of generations. The locked door upstairs, which I had never opened, was a symbol, a threshold to self-belief, to the power I'd claimed when I left. The notes, the key, the stone, they were my grandmother's legacy, passed through the house, guiding me to this moment. The stone pulsed, the locket's mirror reflecting my face, now radiant with purpose. I was the keeper, not just of my children's future, but of a lineage of resilience, a power that had always been mine. My parents' journey toward redemption was slow, but it began. My mother visited first, alone, her apologies more sincere with each meeting. She brought small gifts for Jack and Emma, a book of poetry for Jack, a new clarinet reed for Emma, gestures that showed she was trying. One afternoon, she sat in our kitchen, her eyes tracing the photos on the fridge, all of us smiling. "I didn't see you before," she said, her voice thick with regret. "I was so focused on Stephen, on Ethan, I forgot what family means." I nodded, the stone warm against my chest. "We're rebuilding, Mom, but it's on us now, Jack, Emma, and me. You're welcome here, but only if you see us for who we are." My father's apology came later, over a phone call, his voice gruff but genuine. "I was wrong, Amanda," he said. I thought Stephen was the future, but you're the one who's made something real." He started visiting, too, bringing tools to fix a creaky step or playing catch with Emma in the backyard. The twins were cautious, their trust scarred, but they warmed to him slowly, their laughter a bridge we were all crossing together. Stephen and Melissa remained distant, their lives still tangled in the chaos of their own making. But I felt no bitterness, only relief that we'd escaped their orbit. One night, as I tucked Jack and Emma into bed, I found a final note in my journal, its script as familiar as my own heartbeat. "You are the door. The legacy lives." The stone glowed brightly, then dimmed, its light settling into a steady warmth, as if its work was done. I stepped into the backyard, the grass shimmering faintly, and felt the house, our house, breathe with me. The key, the stone, the locket. They were no longer mysteries but anchors, symbols of the strength I'd always carried. I dreamed that night of my grandmother, her face like mine, smiling as she handed me the key. "You've done well, keeper," she said, and the door opened to a garden blooming with light, Jack and Emma running ahead free. As I sit here now, writing these words, I'm struck by how betrayal led to triumph. My parents' favoritism, their dismissal of my children, was a wound that forced me to find my power. The house, with its secrets and its strength, chose me as its keeper, guiding me to a life where Jack and Emma could shine. If you're reading this, know that you too have a door within you, a threshold to cross, a legacy to claim. Sometimes the deepest betrayals reveal the greatest truths: that you are enough, that your worth is yours to define. Step through that door, trust yourself, and build a home where love is the only rule. The stone glows softly as I write, a quiet amen to our journey, and I know we're exactly where we're meant to be.